Welcome back to Royals Weekly. I am your host, Marcus Mead, and joining me as always, lead bathroom attendant at the short-lived Studio 54 knockoff Studio 53, my brother Mike.
Hey, that's right. And let me tell you, it was just like Studio 54's bathroom, but grosser. All
But
right. I'm
grosser.
talking like, yeah, all the stuff they wouldn't let you do at the Studio 54 bathroom, which is like nothing. But
So the piles of cocaine at Studio 54 were this high? At Studio 53, they were this high.
that's right. We measured him by taking the baby that we kept in there. That's right. A baby.
There was a baby in there.
It was like, okay, that's as tall as this baby, at least.
The baby was the head bouncer.
That's right. He also did our taxes. So
What's funny is everybody under the age of like 40 is like, what the hell is Studio 54?
But honestly, we weren't alive for it either.
We weren't alive for it.
Know.
It was just still in the cultural milieu while we were growing up. And so, it was a thing. Look it up, kids. Look it up. It's a thing. On this week's episode, we're gonna look back at a winning week that saw the Royals inch up in the standings a little bit. We're gonna dive into some players the Royals could potentially extend as sort of those conversations get going, and we're gonna preview this week in baseball for the Royals. It's a really important week, which we'll say every week from now on. You may notice that my voice sounds a little weird. I'm sick right now. I of course went to Portugal, as you know, as the regular weekly weirdos know. Of course, I got immediately sick when I came back, as traveling does to people. And so I'm playing a little injured here, but I'm doing my best. Sorry if you hear me sneeze or cough. That will probably happen during this episode, but I'm going to do my best. If you want to say thank you for playing Hurt, Mark, go subscribe to the Royals Weekly Substack. RoyalsWeekly.substack.com. You'll get extra content every single week, an extra midweek episode from us every week. You'll get Mike's drop episode every week, which is a solo episode Mike does. And then you'll get a piece of writing from me every week. I put that out earlier today. And so that's a lot of extra content. $5 a month gets you that. Also, go out and rate and review us if you want to help out. Leave me an Apple Podcast review that says, Mark, I hope you're feeling better. Love the show. And then say something funny because, they're best when they're really funny. We like to read them here on the episode. And so leave us a review, give us 5 stars and rate us. It's really helpful. We really appreciate it. We'll start the review of last week with roster news. It's there isn't that much of it, but we want to talk about the small piece there is, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the roster expansion that's going to happen in September. We'll start with the Bailey Falter roster news. Bailey Falter was placed on the 15-day injured list, left-handed relief pitcher for the Royals. As a result, the Royals brought up Jonathan Bolin. Mike, what do you think of seeing Falter go on the 15-day? I'm going to put IL in quotes.
Yeah,
people watching on YouTube go on the 15-day IL. And Jonathan Bolin come up. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, we kind of knew Bolin was the guy. I mean, there's not a ton of options down there for the up and down, bullpen arm. It's been Jonathan Bolin. It will continue to be Jonathan Bolin for at least the rest of this year and probably into next year. Wouldn't surprise me either.
He went out and pitched a good inning today.
He did. He did pitch pretty well today, and I don't dislike Jonathan Bolin. I've been one of his biggest guys even before he got hurt. But I mean, how foreseeable was this? I mean, golly, we all knew this was coming. They can't send him down.
About one batter in, I'm like, well, he's getting sent down after this game.
Well, he can't get sent down.
Yeah, that's when I thought he might have options, and then I was like, okay, shadow IL then.
Yeah, he doesn't have any options. It's probably the reason he was even on this 26-man to begin with, because I think if you'd have looked at the track record of Bailey Falter versus Stephen Kolek, I think you probably go with Kolek in the thing, but Kolek had options, and you didn't know what was going to happen when Lorenzen came back. You were going to have to send one of them down anyway, and so the idea was, okay, put Kolek in AAA, and he's actually not doing that great in AAA right now, and then keep Falter up, let Falter start a few games. When Lorenzen comes back in, he goes to the bullpen. The problem is Falter has been nothing but bad. And so you knew, okay, they're not going to keep throwing him out there and keeping a bullpen spot going. He's about to have a adductor strain or shoulder strain or fatigue or something.
And it just so happened in his last outing, he got hit by a ball, hit back at him. He has a contusion now.
Contusion.
That's the catch-all.
Sneaky contusion.
What's that? He got a bruise, right? Dude got a bruise. We're putting him on the IL for 15 days. Okay,
gotcha. So we can figure out what the hell's going on. But no, of course, you do these things. You gotta do it, and hopefully Jonathan Bolin can continue to grow. And Falter's the kind of guy who, because he does have the great extension, because that does make his fastball a somewhat successful pitch, you still want to work with him. You still want to try and figure something out that makes him an effective piece, either as a starter depth, or as a bullpen arm.
Yeah, I think they want to keep him, or they don't want to DFA him. They want to give him a chance to have an offseason to work on some stuff that they can do with him, and then say, we'd love Bailey Falter to be a swing man in our bullpen. Obviously, the not having options is difficult for him, because what you would really love his role to be is sixth, seventh, eighth starter, moving between AAA and the majors, but he can't do that because he has no options. And so his best role maybe for them moving forward, if he can get a little more effective, will be in that bullpen as a swingman, as somebody who can go multiple innings for them, be left-handed, use his extension. Maybe they can give him a slightly better breaking ball or something to really make him a little more effective. His horrific performance up to this point was a little bit predictable, because while he had a decent ERA coming over from the Pirates, all his expected numbers were much, much worse. And so he's just basically been bit really, really hard by the regression bug. And so you're getting sort of all the downside that should have probably been lifted on him throughout the season is all coming right now for the Royals. Tough luck for them. They probably hoped he could continue to ride the wave of success he was having with Pittsburgh, but at least they didn't have to experience it for that long. And so that's one thing to say. It wasn't good, but at least it was short. So that's
Isn't that what your partner says on a regular basis?
Oh, Riggs, you were going to want to listen to that one.
Do it.
Anyway, I'm so glad I'm sick and experiencing this. Mike, let's talk a little about roster expansion. On September 1st, the Royals will be given 2 additional roster spots, like every other team in baseball, which means they can add 1 pitcher and 1 hitter, or if they want to, they can choose to add 2 hitters. They can't add more than 1 pitcher. What do you think they should do when rosters expand on September 1st?
Okay, here's what I do. I would bring up Jack Caglione and Luinder Avila. And Jack would get time in right field, but only in the most advantageous situations for him. Because when he comes up here, it's all about building Jack's confidence and getting him to a place where he is swinging at pitches he can really do damage on. I haven't had a chance to watch him in AAA. He's been killing it in AAA, but I want to know, is that he's killing it because he's swinging at the pitches he should be swinging at, or just because he's better than AAA pitching? I don't know the answer. You seem to be nodding your head. It's just that.
Every clip I see is him hitting a home run on a pitch he should not have swung at.
So I haven't been able to see those full at bats. I did go through and watch all of his highlights, but I want to know what that looks like. But you got to put him in a really advantageous situation and let him see if he can thrive. And then Avila would go into the pen as a multi-inning guy for me, where, like, if, for example, today Lugo goes 4 1/3, Luinder Avila would come in for 2, or maybe 2 1/3, or whatever you have to, whatever looks good for you after that second inning. I think he has a chance to help our bullpen there.
That does make sense to me, and I think that's what's probably most likely to happen. I think they will get Jack back up into the major leagues, and Avila makes the most sense as a bullpen option, because even though he's not doing great in AAA this year either, his stuff gives you the, how do I say this? Because he has decent stuff, there's a chance that he could actually overperform as a bullpen pitcher what he's been doing in AAA, and you actually have somebody who's valuable for you in the bullpen for the last month of the year, right? Like, it's not extremely likely, but it's possible. Like Steven Cruz last year, when he came up to the major leagues, and it was actually somehow a little bit better in Major League Baseball than he was in AAA. It's a similar situation where, like, excuse me, where we could see Avila have a little more success than you might predict based on his numbers down there. For the Jack thing, I would think there's a possibility that they bring him up, but there's also a possibility that they do something like bring up Harold Castro, or somebody who could play multiple positions and has been really hot lately. That's what Castro's been down there. He's been really hot down in AAA lately, and he also can play multiple positions. He's a major league veteran. It doesn't matter if they have to DFA him at some point. It could be a move like that, and I wouldn't be upset with a move like that either. That would just signal that they really want Jack hitting every single day. They want him down in AAA, figuring out how to have a better approach to the plate. I'm going to do that a lot in this episode. On the field this week, the Royals managed to win more games than they lost, which is a must if they hope to steal one of these final wildcard spots. They started the week taking 3 of 4 from a struggling Rangers team, although that Rangers team just swept the Cleveland Guardians after they were struggling and lost 3 or 4 to us. And then they dropped the first 2 games of the Tigers series. They did manage to salvage one win from this Tiger series earlier today, doing just enough to keep hope alive. Mike, how do you feel about the week that was from the Royals?
I felt okay because I thought that this was what the Royals needed at minimum to stay in this race. This was a tough week because both teams are good. The Rangers are, they may have been struggling coming in, but not only are they a good team, initially they had a pretty good slate of starting pitchers going. Now, Jacob deGrom did not pitch as we thought he was going to, but still they put out 3 pretty strong starters in that series, and the Royals were able to get 3 of 4. I mean, that's pretty good against that team, and really they probably should have won all 4 of those games. And then they go into Detroit, and what happens is kind of what you thought might happen. Detroit is better. They're a really good team. You end up taking a game from them today. That's great, but they were in the other 2 games. Now you have to really focus on, the fact that you're going to play the White Sox now, and you're going to get Detroit again, and then you're going to have a chance to make some hay again. There's kind of like a sandwich. After this coming up week, you get a week of bad teams at the beginning of September. You get a week of good team or bad teams at the end of September, sandwiching 2 weeks of good teams. So it's going to be a little bit of a roller coaster ride through the month of September, but the Royals have I think, an 18% chance, 18.1% chance is what Fangraph gives them now to make the playoffs, but they've got work to do still.
That's a 1 in 5 for those of you who are, odds makers.
A little less than that.
Little less than 1 in 5, right? The Royals are always seemingly doing the minimum to keep hope alive among the fan base and all of us, listening and watching and paying attention. But they don't necessarily do enough to move into a good spot. Like if you look at where they're at, what are they still 3 games back of the Mariners? I think was where last time I looked, that was before the games today. They're the first team out of the wild card right now. So there are no teams between them and the next wild card spot. But they are still 3 games back. And they have a 3-game series, I think, against the Mariners in mid-September. And so you like that. You like that they'll have a chance to gain some serious ground there. Of course, the flip side, they could lose some serious ground there as well. But they did enough this week. The thing that gets me is you're right. They ran out some good starters in that Rangers series. The starters they saw in that Tigers series, not great. Mize has been pitching terribly in the second half. Paddock is just bad. Like, he's just a bad pitcher. And Flaherty's not having a good year either. They managed to get a win against Flaherty and got some runs against him, but they didn't do what they really should have done, especially against Paddock. Paddock, they did not take advantage of yesterday. And you would have really liked them to see them do that. And then, of course, Falter kind of blew that first game, but the Royals had no choice. They're so depleted. It's kind of a coincidence of timing. They're getting the Tigers right at the tail end, or right in the meat, I guess, of this very long string of games. And so their bullpen is zapped. Like they're running out. That's why Bolin got the 8th inning in like a 1 or 2 run game today. Bolin got the 8th inning because they had nobody else. Like they just couldn't go to anybody else. They'd already pitched Ursig and Zerpa and Schreiber, and it's like, who else you go? You gonna throw David Lynch in there? Well, guess what?
Sam Long.
You don't want to.
Put him in
Sam
there?
Long. He just blew the game yesterday. Like you don't want to pitch those guys, and so they're just running out of options here. They can't pitch the same 3 or 4 guys every single night out of the bullpen, and it's becoming an issue at this point.
And actually, I brought that up in the Mike Strop episode. That's why I picked, honestly, the wager that I picked was Detroit on Friday night, because -1.5, because who were they going to put out there for the bullpen for the Royals? There just wasn't. And the Detroit
Bailey Falter, it turns out.
Yeah, that's right. Well, Detroit had just had a day off too. Detroit had a day off right before that. They weren't traveling. They were at home. We had no days off for a long stretch, and we were traveling. It was like, that's the recipe for disaster. If they win this Friday night game against Casey Mize, who, although he's been bad recently, is a solid pitcher, that was a tough ask no matter what.
Yeah. In a week where they did win 4 out of 7, though, they had some strong performers, especially offensively. Mike, who did you choose for your strong performer this week?
Had to go with the hottest bat on planet Earth, basically, Vinny Pasquantino. 11 for 29, 7 runs, 2 doubles, 6 home runs in his last 7 games, people. 12 RBI, 2 walks to 5 strikeouts. He has, and you mentioned this, I can't remember.
12 RBIs in 1 week.
I know. I can't remember 6 home runs in 1 week.
6 home runs in 1 week.
Like if you get 6 home runs in a month, you're like, that's a solid month,
It's a hell of a month.
He's gonna pass 100 RBI this year, and he's gonna pass 30 home runs. And if you'd have told me that at the beginning of the season, I'd be very happy. He's at 115 weighted runs created plus now, and I think that's kind of the bar we set for him. He's probably he may cruise back that or past that if he keeps playing the way that he has. You mentioned this, and I can't remember if it was last week in the Monday episode or if it was the midweek episode, but
he has last week in the Monday episode because I was
because I was by myself. He has completely figured out what makes him the best version of him, and that is early in counts. I am looking to pull the ball, lift the ball out of the ballpark all the time. The only time I'm giving in to that philosophy is to manufacture a run from third base, or if I'm down bad, and that's it. Like it's a beautiful approach, and he is just killing right field with the baseball, and it's really good to see. I would love to see that carry over to the beginning of the year next year, because he's just such a notoriously bad starter to the season. If that changes in April and May, you're talking about a guy who could be 125, 130 weighted runs created plus by the end of the year.
Well, you saw him try to do that early in this year, but his bat speed was so heavy in early this season. He was just fouling balls off down the right field line. He was way too out in front of a lot of pitches. He had to actually slow his bat down a little bit. And if you look at the data shows he's actually swinging a little bit less hard, has a little less bat speed with him, which is great, because if your max bat speed is really, really high and you can swing at 80 to 90%, that's great. And you're hitting balls out to right field, perfect, right? Like, and so he's found that timing on that. And you're exactly right. It's a simple yet extremely elegant idea, which is my power profile will only let me really hit balls out to right field. So I'm going to try and hit balls out to right field all the time, unless I can be more useful getting a guy in from third, or unless I'm down in the count and just have to put a ball in play. Like, and it's just so beautiful to see. I love it. It's just beautiful. The guy I'm going with is another left-handed hitter who had a big week and has been really great for the Royals all month, and that's Mike Yastrzemski. He went 7 for 22 last week, 1 double, 2 home runs, 3 RBI, 2 walk, 2 strikeouts. He's really been the solution for them in the leadoff spot. He's also come up with some big key moments and either gotten on base in those moments or knocked some runs in. Like, it's been really great to see him come in and be more, I think, consequential than I initially thought he would be. Like, I knew he'd be the long side of a platoon because he's left-handed, but to watch him go out and take advantage of all the opportunity he's been given really looks great. I mean, he looks 4 or 5 years younger. He looks like he's in his prime.
He may have added 2 or 3 years to his career by showing that he can be this kind of a player with this profile to contribute to a team like that. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if the Royals go out and sign him again for next year, maybe.
I mean, I think people are going to ask, like, should they just see if they can get him a year or two, of an extension and say, like, hey, there's not going to be a tremendous market for you in free agency. There'd be a small one, somebody's going to be looking for a leadoff hitter who's basically just going to hit right-handed pitching. That's going to be valuable to some degree, but you're definitely going to be the leadoff hitter for us if against right-handed pitching. So come here, stay here, play for us. I think there's an argument to be made for doing something like that.
Well, and plus it works so well with the Michael situation. Mm-hmm. Michael can go up there against lefties and you feel great about either one in that situation. Yeah, I think it's a good fit, and it kind of, I don't want to say it solves a corner outfield problem for the Royals for next year, but it gives you a better option for that.
Yeah. Mike, not everybody took the tiger by the tail last week. Who was your weak performer for last week?
Oh, speaking of having better options in a corner outfield, my weak performer for the week is John Rave, 0 for 13, 0 walks. He hadn't made it on base yet this week. 3 strikeouts, no walks, 0 for 13. The John Rave experience has not been a great one. He's come up with some big hits at big times. And yeah, he plays a solid outfield. He's come up with some good plays in the outfield, but John Rave's ceiling is 4th outfielder, and I'm not even sure if he's getting there right now.
Yeah, Rave is a guy who, I do think his ceiling is 4th outfielder, and I do think he'll be that. Tough to go 0 for 13. He's gotten quite a bit of opportunity because he's left-handed. Like Yastrzemski, he's going to get the long side of any platoons. well, that can also be a little bit problematic. That's going to like expose him a little bit offensively, especially right now. Rave takes time to adjust to a level, and he still doesn't have that many plate appearances in Major League Baseball. But doing the little things sometimes is good enough. I compare him a lot to Nick Lofton because they're kind of the same guy, just from opposite sides of the plate, except Lofton can play more positions. And Lofton has a little bit better of an approach than John Rave does, gets on base a little bit more, and as a result is more and strikes out less. And as a result can be a little more valuable offensively, even when he's not super hot, if that makes sense. Lofton has I looked these numbers up. Lofton has a 19% walk rate since August 1st. It's crazy. It's awesome. Anyway, got a little tangent on Lofton there. My week performer for this week is one that will sound a little bit familiar. That is Seth Lugo. He got 2 starts this week, went 10 2/3 innings, 8 earned runs in those 10 2/3 innings, 4 home runs. That's the big problem there. 2 hit by pitches, 4 walks, and 10 strikeouts, which means he let 6 guys on base for free, right? Like Lugo just has not had the command since the extension that he had.
Yeah, he was good in that Rangers series. He had this. That's the
was.
thing. The first start of the week was pretty solid. Yep. Today it was
decent. It was decent. He wasn't dominant or anything in that first start. It was decent. And then today he went out and he let the I'm just now blanking on the team they played. He let the Tigers right back into the game. The Royals had a 5-run lead. It was 6-1 going into like the 3rd or 4th, and he just let the Tigers right back in the game. And it was like pitch right down the middle. A lot of them were sinkers. Sinker down the middle, sinker down the middle, sinker down the middle. And the Tigers are just teeing off on them. The sinker is not Lugo's best pitch. I don't know why he throws it as much as he does, especially when you consider his best pitch is his curveball. You would typically think that the pitch that you throw off of the curveball is the 4-seamer, but for some reason he's loving that sinker right down the middle, just getting tattooed all day today. He's going to have to find his best command. One of the interesting things I think about, like if the Royals do chase down a playoff spot, who are the starters they're going to go with in the playoffs? You got to imagine they're going to go with Seth Lugo. What's that going to look like? Like at this point, it's not going to look great.
Yeah, and here's there's going to be another question about Cole Reagans too. Like, can you make him a starter when he hasn't pitched much in? He's pitched 3 or 4 starts, maybe.
And what's he look like when he's coming back?
What's he look like when he comes back? Waka's probably locked in there. Noah Cameron's been pretty good. You feel like
Ryan
you can probably
Bergert's
do him.
Been good.
Bergert can probably, he's pitched out of the pen before. I think you feel comfortable doing that. I don't know if Noah Cameron gives you any value out of the pen really. And so I would have, Lorenzen's pitched out of the pen. You probably put him in there, probably put Bergert in there, but you're going to have a choice between Reagans, Lugo, Waka, and Cameron. There's 4 guys. You could go with 4. Usually teams just go with 3 starters in the playoffs.
Well, here's what'll ultimately have to happen is they'll have to get real creative, right? Because you want whoever they are, you want your 13 best pitchers on that roster. If Cole Reagans has to pitch out of the bullpen, then he's going to pitch out of the bullpen. If Michael Lorenzen has to pitch out of the bullpen, he'll pitch out of the bullpen. Like, this is the playoffs. You'll do what you got to do. If you got to piggyback Seth Lugo and Cole Reagans, you'll piggyback Seth Lugo and Cole Reagans. Like, it sounds weird.
That'd be really cool, actually.
Isn't the worst idea in the world if Reagans isn't, fully built up to say, like, guess what, Lugo, you're going to go for 2 innings, 3 innings, and then Cole Reagans is going to come out for 2 or 3 innings, and then we're going to, get into our actual relievers, and so they'll do something, hopefully, to ensure that Lugo isn't hugely exposed in the playoffs, but it's very clear that he's not 100% in some way, and he's not the Seth Lugo of the first half. Mike, get us to a theme before people have to keep hearing my voice.
I went with a classic, just a real classic of American cinema from the movie Dumb and Dumber, starring Jeff Daniels and Jim Carrey. They're talking at the end of the movie. Jim Carrey is talking to the female lead, and I can't remember that actress's name.
Lauren Holly?
Thank you, Lauren Holly. And he's saying, hey, I want you to tell me, give it to me straight. What kind of chance do I have with you? And she goes, and here's my theme for the week, because it applies to me to Royals playoff chances. Not good. You mean not good like 1 in 100? I'd say more like 1 out of 1,000,000. So you're telling me there's a chance? Yeah. That's how I feel like Royals fans are doing right now. 18%? So you're telling me there's a chance?
Classic of American cinema. You know, the studio didn't want Jeff Daniels for
Yes,
that
I've
role.
heard that story. Yeah,
Isn't that crazy?
I've heard him tell that story.
Jim Carrey had to like advocate for him to stay on the movie. Yeah.
Well, according to Jeff Daniels, he was like, he went in there to test, and then the next day, Jim Carrey came out and said, "Oh, they ended up picking you. Good." And then told him basically, "Yeah, you were about to get fired, man."
Well, yeah, he was like after they had started shooting, they're like they wanted to shoot all my stuff that was without Jim first, and I knew that meant they want to see what this looks like, and then they're gonna fire me if they want to, and so I was like, okay. Anyway, I am also going with a just classic comedy line from a comedy here. The late '90s or early 2000s road trip hit. Road Trip is the name of the film. If you've ever seen it, I believe the character who says this line is called Ruben, and the reason I chose this for a theme is because we're still like over a month away from the end of the season. And it's hard to remember that like this isn't going to, we aren't near the end of the race here. Like it's a challenge. It's still a slog. Like it's a slog to gain the 3 games back that the Royals are down. It's going to take it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back kind of stuff, and so when they're trying to take a quote unquote shortcut that someone has found and people are complaining, Ruben says, it's supposed to be a challenge. That's why they call it a shortcut. If it was easy, it would just be the way.
I use that line constantly.
I do too. I use this line all the time.
Of course, it's not easy. If it was easy, it would just be the way. I use that more than you would think.
Royals Weekly is brought to you by All In Physical Therapy, who are happy to announce that they now offer strength and conditioning programs for youth athletes who want to gain an edge on the football field, basketball court, or baseball field.
Can probably help with your experience points for the D&D crowd as well. Or hit points? Something. I don't know.
And of course, yeah, that's right. And of course, All In Physical Therapy still offers the best in recovery from total joint surgeries and sports injuries with offices in Blue Springs, Lee Summit, and Belton. They'll help take care of your recently repaired hips, knees, shoulders, elbows, you name it.
Joint replacement is now as routine as changing your tires. And I think that they can do both at Costco. I think that's with the membership. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to get a membership, though. Mm-hmm. If you're interested in reaching the peak of your athletic performance or getting back to 100% from an injury, check out All In Physical Therapy at allin-pt.com. That's ALLIN-pt.com. Or give them a call at 816-427-5300. That's 816-427-5300. We've seen the Royals offense produce more since the trade deadline, with young stars like Vinny Pasquantino and Michael Garcia spearheading the offensive surge. Some Royals fans have started to call for extensions for these young players, so I thought we'd devote a spotlight segment to discussing who the extension candidates for the Royals are and what the Royals should do about them. Mike, let's start with the list of candidates. Who do you see as legitimate extension candidates for the Royals?
So I just ignored your question because I didn't want to answer.
Classic you.
And I saw that you had listed them all already, so I'm going to let you talk about the actual players that might make this list, but you're going to give us that list. But I want to lay out my general philosophy here when it comes to extending players in their first 6 years. I would give a real hard look at extending any hitters that we think are going to be possible positives after their arbitration years. But I would be very cautious about extending pitchers. We know the volatility of pitchers. We know the injury risk. I think unless you can see an absolute value, and especially when it looks like your strength as an organization and as a farm system is going to be developing pitching, I wouldn't. And that's why part of me thinks like the Lugo extension was a little bit confusing. But the one thing Lugo has kind of proven to be in the last few years has been durable. And so I just don't know that I would go extending pitchers, especially when it's just too easy for them to get hurt. I think hitters is a different thing. I understand it. And I do think there are spots to extend pitchers and things like that. But that's just my personal philosophy. And I think where teams need to start from is hitters first. and then we look at extending pitchers, and we look for very specific things when we do that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. There's some organizations who are like, we're just not going to extend pitchers. Like we're a pitching factory. The Rays do this all the time. They very rarely extend a pitcher. It's like we use them for the first 5 or 6 years. We trade them, we get rid of them, and then we bring up new guys because it's too volatile. It's too volatile of an asset to sink money into. So we're going to do it a different way. And so I think the Royals will probably try and follow that model a little bit and be a little bit more hesitant when it comes to extending pitchers. We've certainly seen that. I mean, Bobby Witt Jr. got an extension. You know, can you think who's the last pitcher they gave a real extension to?
Was it Brad Keller?
Didn't
they give him a little one?
I don't think they did.
I thought they gave him a little extension.
I can't remember. But yeah, here's the list though of players who sort of fit the bill of guys who could be offered an extension in the next few years. Vinny Pasquantino, Michael Garcia, Kyle Isbell, Cole Reagans, Chris Bubich, and Ryan Bergert. Do you have somebody else? Do you have somebody you want to add to that
Duffy.
List?
They extended Duffy, didn't they?
They did extend Duffy, I believe. Yeah.
Okay.
So those are our list of guys who fit sort of the bill of what you might at least consider as extension candidates. Mike, when considering an extension candidate, who to give an extension to, what criteria are you looking for?
I got 3 things, okay, and they are in order, okay? Reliability is my number 1. Is this a guy that's going to be on the field? Does he have an injury history? You know, I prefer that they not have an injury history when I'm going to devote millions and millions of dollars to them. Number 2, consistency. All right. And we've mentioned this. Salvador Perez is not coming off of this baseball team. And that's how many guys you can afford to have that are as inconsistent as he is. You can have 1. All right. Other than that, if I'm sinking big money to you, and honestly, the only reason you can have a Salvador Perez is because he's going to play the defense for you, or
right.
At least when he became a part of this franchise forever,
when he was
Gold
extended,
Glove lever defense.
Yeah. Exactly. Like that creates an element of consistency that is different than just offensive consistency. And so he gets, you know, that's catching. That's a different thing.
Mm-hmm. That's a whole different story. I want to see offensive consistency. Yeah, I just can't have a volatile hitter in there. Okay. And number 3, a history of growth. I need to see that, okay, you've gotten better. Therefore, if we're extending you at age 25, 26, 27, there's still a chance that you are going to continue to maybe get better. Now, you may drop off in certain things. Your athleticism is not going to be better at 31 than it was at 28. That's not going to happen. Okay. But I need to see that your approach is getting better, that you're understanding what you're doing at the plate a little bit better, that you're able to manufacture. Maybe you fixed some things on defense too. Like, I want to see a history of growth.
That makes a ton of sense. That makes a ton of sense. And I think a lot of people are in similar boats. Some of those are tough to tell. Like the consistency is fairly easy and the history of growth is fairly easy. The staying healthy thing is always a tough one, right? Like our best predictor of future injury is past injury, but that's still not a very good one. And so like, it's really tough to know. This may sound a little callous, but I also look for players who could benefit from an early extension. I look for players who didn't gain financial security from their signing bonus or don't come from wealth. And so there's a reason Salvador Perez took the extension that he took in his first contract, right? If you don't remember, his first contract was the most ridiculously team-friendly deal I've ever seen anybody take. It was like a giveaway almost. But for him, a guy who came from Latin America who didn't make a ton of money on his signing bonus when he was internationally signed and whose family could really use that money, it made sense, right? Frankly, that's what a lot of teams do. You see a lot of guys extended whose families need the money more, who could use that financial security right away. Now, the Royals did right by Salvi and gave him another extension that was big time money, but frankly has also been quite worth it given his performance. But that's what you got to kind of look for. So when you think about that, it's not just guys who come from Latin America. Sometimes it's guys who come from the United States. Vinny Pasquantino is a good example. He was drafted in the 11th round. 11th round signing bonus money does not make you
not generational wealth.
Rich. It's not generational wealth. You're not rich for the rest of your life after that. And so, you know, he could obviously is somebody who an extension would make sense in a team friendly sense as well, because it would help him gain the financial security and it would help the Royals save a little bit of money. But it's different when you're talking about a guy like Bobby Witt Jr. and he got extended, who was rich from the day he got signed, whose father was a Major League Baseball player. Bobby Witt Jr. never ever needed the money, and so it's a different ballgame for those guys. Mike, understanding the circumstances of all of those candidates we laid out, which of these guys do you think the Royals should extend?
Well, right now, or even this offseason, none. I would go with 0. If I see more consistency starting out next year, like we come back and Maikel Garcia is still the hitter that he was this year, Vinny Pasquantino looks good, like he's going to be kind of a force in the middle of your lineup. Maybe some other guys. Then I start thinking about extending those two specifically. Isbell to me is a little bit of a different story, and it's kind of more of that Salvi comparison, just on a smaller scale, where he's due for free agency sooner, 2028. He also provides his entire value is defensive value, and that's not going to you don't feel like that's going to fluctuate a lot for any extension that he gets. He's also been an extremely healthy player in the past, so he might be the only one where I'm like, okay, this offseason, maybe we look at doing that, because one, he's not going to cost much. And then even if you say a Carson Rocafort works his way up and you're going to try and give him starting time in center field for the Royals, well, you're fine putting Kyle Isbell as your fourth outfielder. That's what I'm like. There's some versatility to him and some value that's not going to go away, if that makes sense. And so I think maybe you take a look at him this offseason, but I need to see it for a little bit longer with those other guys before I'm talking extension.
Yeah, I'd be willing to give Maikel an extension now because I think they could get it fairly cheap. I think you could get a Maikel Garcia extension now. And if you look at his cousin, Ronald Acuna Jr., there was actually a really good, I don't know if it was an entire article or a tweet or something like that, about the difference between Ronald Acuna Jr. and Juan Soto. Ronald and the fact that Acuna took the early extension and Soto waited and went to free agency and ended up paying off big for Soto. But the interesting thing about that is Ronald Acuna also tore his ACL like right after he got that extension. And then it became like, okay, well, that's secure money now for a guy who's now got at least one torn ACL, having trouble staying healthy again this year. That extension is security, is a hedge against significant injury. And so for a guy like Maikel, who, is also seemingly didn't make a boatload off of his international signing, could probably use something like that. You think you'd get him fairly cheap. And I'm pretty convinced that the stuff that he has in terms of a skill set, that's not going to diminish. The stuff that he has in terms of a profile, I think he's found it. I don't think it's going away. And so I'd get him locked up if I could this right now. Vinny scares me a little bit because he does have that injury history and because his body type is just not one that you say ages great, right? Now, odds are you could get him extended to, say, his age 30 season and be okay, but you'd worry about anything beyond that because that body type just looks like it's going to break down, right? And so I would be a little bit worried, but you could maybe get creative with Vinny and do something about vesting options and stuff like that. If you play this number of games, if you're going to do a sort of performance, this other thing kicks in. You could get creative with Vinny, I think, and get an extension done if you really wanted it. But it will be a little bit tough, I think. Isbell at the right price, fine, but it would have to be a fairly cheap deal because, like you said, the stuff that he offers is fairly replaceable. The only pitcher I would not consider an extension for Cole Reagans or Chris Bubich, right? Like they would be two who would pretty much be off the table because of their injury histories. Bergert, if he keeps pitching the way you like, I would maybe consider it, but I would still want to see more from him, and he would have to continue to stay healthy for a couple of years. Royals Weekly is brought to you by Eric Oxer of West USA Realty. Do you have the same fantasy we do, retiring to a land of eternal summer? If so, you need to call Eric Oxer of West USA Realty pronto. He can help you transition to a lovely home in the Phoenix area and a life of fun in the sun.
They're about to dip back into some nice, cool 95-degree days in Phoenix, but it's a dry heat. Like when that camp counselor would sneak into your bunk at night and breathe real heavy on the back of your neck. You remember that?
I do not.
You need to talk those memories, did you?
You need to talk to somebody, bud. Eric was one of the top real estate agents in the Phoenix area to end 2024 because he gives all of his clients a personal experience focused entirely on their needs. With Eric Oxshire of West USA Realty, it's not about him. It's about you. He's there to listen to you, work for you, and guide you through the ins and outs of buying and selling in the Phoenix area.
Eric knows Phoenix like I know the inside of an ice cream sandwich. Intimately.
Watching Mike eat an ice cream sandwich is one of the most disgusting things you'll ever see in your life. I'm going to eat one right after this. Find Eric Oxshire of West USA Realty online at ericoxshire.com. That's ERICKAUXIER.com. Or just give him a call or shoot him a text at 480-383-9745. That's 480-383-9745. If you're at all interested in what a life in the Phoenix area might hold, let him make the experience all about you. The Royals get some deja vu this week as they hit the road to take on the Chicago White Sox, and then they get a day off and then a trip back to Kauffman Stadium for the Tigers, another Tiger series. Mike, we've seen plenty of the White Sox lately. Tell us about the team we'll hope to sweep once again in Chicago.
Well, the White Sox are bad. Okay. They're 47-83, which is last in the American League Central. Going to see some different pitchers this go around than what we did last time. Or at least two of them are different pitchers. In that first game, we're going to get Noah Cameron versus Shane Smith, the 25-year-old righty out of Wake Forest. He's got a 4.12 ERA and a 1.29 whip. He's got a four-seamer that goes 95-96, a changeup, a slider, a curveball, and a sinker. He walks a decent amount of hitters at 10%. Good fastball, pretty solid changeup. He doesn't strike out too many at 22%. And I believe Shane Smith's the Rule 5 guy they got, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so.
I think
My brain is basically
he's been
a scrambled egg
somewhat
right now.
solid for them throughout the year in a starting rotation that has been just tumult, if you want to use that word.
I've never heard that word, so yeah, that's great.
You never heard the word tumult?
Nope.
Okay. In the second game, we'll get Michael Lorenzen versus Martin Perez, the 34-year-old lefty out of Venezuela. 2.51 ERA and a 1.15 whip in just 28.2 innings pitched. Mark desperately wanted this guy 2 years ago.
I did a couple years
Last
ago.
year?
When they got
Something like
Lugo and Waka, it was like Lugo and him and a couple others. So I was like, this is the group of guys I want.
Yeah. So he's not pitched much this year, but he's got a cutter that goes 85-86, a sinker, a changeup, a curveball, and a four-seam fastball. His expected ERA is 5.18. So there may be plenty of room for regression for this guy. He's living on borrowed time is what Mark says. He is 34, not greatly effective. Yeah. The next guy actually shut down the Royals the last time they played him. It's going to be Ryan Bergert versus Aaron Savali, a 30-year-old righty out of Northwestern, 5.02 ERA and a 1.38 whip. We know Aaron Savali from when he was with the Guardians. He's got a cutter at 89, a curveball, a sinker, a four-seam fastball, a slider, and a split finger. He doesn't strike out many at 19.2% for his K rate, and he lives on inducing weak contact, mostly through the breaking ball, if I remember correctly. Very low ground ball rates, gets weak fly balls quite a bit. And last time he was able to confuse the Royals enough, but I believe, well, obviously we won the game. We got to the bullpen late because their bullpen's not good either, by the way. Might be the best part of their team, but it's not very good. So,
my boy Mike Vassell pitches in their bullpen.
He's actually been somewhat of a good guy for them. After him, he's the best of that group, by the way. After him, it gets pretty bad. They have two other solid guys, and then it's really bad after that.
I'm surprised they don't try him in the rotation, honestly.
He started a couple games, but I'm sure they were like bullpen games.
Mm-hmm. After that, they're going to come back to Kansas City and play the Tigers here in Kauffman. The Tigers, as we know, are very good. They're 78-54. That's first in the AL Central. Their offense is 10th in Major League Baseball with a 106 weighted runs created plus. They've got Riley Green, Spencer Torkelson, Kerry Carpenter, all having good years. They're pretty good top to bottom in that lineup. We've seen guys like Zach McKinstry kill the Royals. We've seen, Torkelson kills the Royals. Javi Baez is having a resurgent year. Like they're
Perez
a real good
at that
offense.
home run today.
Perez is good. They got a bunch of good guys. Their pitching is also quite good. They are 9th in Major League Baseball in ERA with 3.78. Obviously, Tarek Skubal is the big name there, 2.32 ERA from him. The other guys who have put up good years in total aren't doing so great. Their rotation's a little shaky right now. Casey Mize has been bad lately. Reese Olson's on the 60-day IL. Jackson Jobe is on the 60-day IL. And so we'll see if any of these guys either come off the IL or start getting a rhythm for them in the starting rotation. Because if not, then the Royals will probably have a chance to face a couple of not great starters again. They need to take advantage of it this second time around. We'll end this week's episode like we end every episode with the Just a Bit Outside segment where we talk about something that's interesting to us outside the world of baseball. Mike, a lot going on in both of our lives, more mine than yours, but let's hear what you got going
on. Well, I don't really have much going on. If you remember, those of you who are avid listeners, I got sick a couple weeks ago and I had to kind of change my diet to fix the thing that was wrong with me. And I was eating like a forced bland diet. But really what that meant for me was I was not able to eat fast food. Both Mark and I have at different times in our life been heavily addicted to fast food.
Basically my entire life.
Our entire adult lives, at least.
For sure.
But one of the things that I kind of realized over the last few weeks as I haven't been eating fast food at all is why people choose to eat fast food. Right now, I've always chosen it because I love the taste of fast food. I just do. It's got all the things I like: fat, salt, and sugar. I like all those things.
Those are the best things.
It's super convenient. It's easy to get, all that sort of stuff. But here's one thing I think we don't kind of think about. So since I've started not eating fast food, have I felt better? Had I had more energy? Yeah, sure. All that's true. Well,
all the stuff bullshit.
All the stuff they say. Of course, that's true. Yeah, I'm thinner. All that stuff's great. But you know what sucks? Like,
you're not eating
fast food. Are more expensive. My grocery bill is now more expensive because we eat all the food.
Yeah.
Okay. I have dishes to do all the fucking time.
All the time.
Like
all the time.
I can't do dishes fast enough to have the dishes to eat again. I know. I'm running the dishwasher every other day, and that's insane for me. Because we use paper plates. We don't even use like real plates. It's like, this is craziness. And so like when we talk about, okay, well, why do people choose to eat fast food? Yes, it's because of the salt and the fat and the sugar. Yeah, of course. We all love that. But because fast food can sometimes be relatively cheap, it's like, okay, do I want to spend it on fast food or do I want to spend it on extra groceries? And that takes groceries and cooking take time. Okay.
Which is basically money.
Yeah. And so it's like, the value, I think we underestimate the value of fast food. There is a ton of value in there. Now, it's terrible for you. It'll kill you young. I am almost certain of that. Okay. But don't tell me like you can't understand why people eat fast food.
Oh, I get it.
I completely understand it. Completely. Like, it's so much easier and it tastes better. Like, what do you, don't sit here and tell me like my roasted chicken and vegetables and rice tastes better than my McDouble. That is insanity, ladies and gentlemen. And it's a hell of a lot easier to just get the McDouble.
Yeah. If you suck at cooking like I do, nothing I make will ever be better than the Culvers that I ate today. Like,
exactly.
Ever. It will never be that good. Like, I like some of the stuff I make, but it will never be that good, and it's going to take me an hour and a half to cook something. It's going to take, maybe if I did the math and all the groceries, it would maybe cost me $3 a meal. I can get $5 meal for fucking, somewhere, like it's that cheap. Like, that's what I'm saying. What's the $2 difference in the meal? And when you take in the fact that I'm saving dishes, I'm saving time, all this sort of stuff. It's crazy.
Exactly. It's wild. So I made like beef enchiladas last night. They tasted pretty good. It took me an hour and a half to make them. Like,
yeah.
And the amount of stuff I had to put in there probably cost what it would have cost us to drive through Taco Bell or Taco John's or something like that. It's insane.
Oh, I love Taco John's. All right. Let's talk about something else before I go Jones in here. Okay. I'm sick, as you can all tell. Mike, the way we talk about stuff, it makes it sound like we're sick all the time. I'm sick right now. Mike was just sick. Now I'm sick. And one thing I noticed, so my partner got sick on Thursday. I thought about talking about the emergency room experience that we had. Took her to the emergency room. the worst experience I've ever had in an emergency room, which is saying something because I've been in some bad emergency room experiences. But this one was terrible. But I'm not going to talk about that. That's real negative. Instead, I was hoping I wouldn't get sick, but I, of course, did get sick because she got sick. And what ended up helping me, and I think will help everyone, is as I've gotten older and older, and his sickness sort of hits me harder and harder, I've developed like a plan or a routine for being sick that really helps me through the sickness. Like, I know exactly where I'm going to spend my time when I'm sick. I have a guest bedroom. I have a bed that I've spent many, many days when I'm sick in. I have all the stuff. I know all the stuff I need to put beside my bed to help me feel better. I know the medicines that I want to take. I know what I want to do to sleep through my sickness as much as I can. I have like a plan for being sick. And I just encourage you, especially if you're young and sickness doesn't like hit you so hard right now. When I was young, sickness wasn't that big of a deal to me. As I get older, it hits harder. As your sickness starts to hit harder, have a plan for getting through it, right? Like I had a plan. My partner helped me execute that plan. She had barely just gotten over, she wasn't even over being sick. We sort of switched, right? Like I took care of her until the absolute worst of her sickness was over and mine took off. And then she took care of me for like a day when mine was real bad. And so just have a plan for being sick and it at least goes a little bit easier than it otherwise would have. That's all we have for you this week.
I'm going to add to that. No, I'm going to add to that one thing. Know which emergency room your health insurance covers. You should know that all the time because when I got sick, we didn't know. And I spent a morning trying to call and figure it out when I really needed to be in the emergency room.
And they won't tell you. Like,
and they will not tell you
a clear-cut answer.
Emergency rooms won't tell you. They will not tell you the answer to this question. They'll say, could they run my insurance and figure it out? Yeah, but they will not do that.
They won't do it.
No. And so and by the way, the customer service line for Blue Cross Blue Shield does not open until 8 a.m, by the way. So don't have an emergency outside of business hours unless you know which emergency room you can go to.
Just identify your emergency room.
Yeah. I always tell people hey, know which emergency room you can go to immediately. Like you got your new health insurance card, call and figure out.
Yeah, it's hugely beneficial. Sadly, we went to the one that my partner's insurance covers, and that was where the nightmare happened. But just to give you a little tidbit from that anecdote, we found a vial of someone's blood in the room we were in. It wasn't hers. And here's the problem. When I told the doctor, there's a vial of blood there, she said, oh, don't worry, we'll clean that up when she's out of the room. As if she thought it was my partner's blood and somebody had just left it there. And I was like, clearly the rooms don't get cleaned that well, or that vial of blood would not be there. What the hell is going on? All right. Soapbox I'm off of. I'm tired. I'm sweaty. I need to go lay down. All right. That's all we have for you this week. We'll be back next week with more Royal stuff. Till then, be good to each other.
And go Royals.